Tennis elbow has to be one of the most frustrating injuries, and if you've had it, you know exactly what I'm talking about. You try all these different things, and the pain just keeps on coming back, and that's one of the things that makes it super frustrating. But what I wanted to go over is a little bit about what I've learned after helping 250 people overcome their elbow pain, on why that frustration happens in the first place and how to overcome it. So at this point, we've been able to help a lot of people, and something common that I see is they use this word frustrated, and they use it over and over and over again. Talking to all these people dealing with tennis elbow, it was very interesting to see that this is the word that they described that they're stuck in, and this is what is going through their mind in terms of what they're dealing with on a daily basis with their elbow. And in the beginning, I didn't fully understand this concept. I didn't fully understand why they were so frustrated. But helping so many people overcome that frustration, finally fix their elbow, now I understand what they went through, why they were stuck, why they were so frustrated, and more importantly, what to do to break through. So let's first go over why the frustration happens in the first place. When you're developing the tennis elbow, you're developing that pain. First, what we do is we research. We see, hey, what can I do to lower that pain? What is even going on? And more importantly, how to fix it. And let's face it, there's a lot of bad information out there on Google, YouTube, and more importantly, there's information overload. So there's so much information, but you don't really know what to listen to because a lot of this information actually contradicts itself. One thing says to ice, another thing says to heat, one thing says to strengthen, another thing says to rest, and you're just kind of stuck, confused. You don't know what to do, but you try one thing at a time and see if it works. And the frustration comes from that pain always coming back. So essentially, what frustration is we're putting in the effort. We're trying to get it fixed, but the pain just keeps on coming back. And what I relate to, or a good analogy here, is imagine you're stuck in the middle of the ocean and you're on a rowboat. And it doesn't matter how hard you're going to row, if you're not rowing in the right direction, then you're not going to get to where you want to go. You're not going to get your elbow fixed. So hopefully that makes sense. So the frustration comes from putting in the work, trying all these different things, and not really getting to where we want to be. And the reason that's not happening is all the information out there about tennis elbow is focused on one thing, just decreasing the pain in the moment. And we used to think that that tennis elbow was all about inflammation. And if we reduce the inflammation, then the pain will just magically go away. And that's true to some extent. So what we notice is that the pain will decrease in the short term, but then it just keeps on coming back. And then we're stuck in this vicious cycle of tennis elbow where it just keeps on coming back. We're stuck. It starts affecting our daily life, tennis, golf, all these different things. And slowly our life starts to slip away and becomes consumed by this injury. But now we know that tennis elbow, the root cause of it, is not actually inflammation. Inflammation and pain is just the symptom. What's actually going on underneath is overload. That tendon is stressed through everyday life, the sports that we do, and it slowly starts to degenerate. It breaks down. It becomes weaker. And now that elbow can't handle the everyday activities. And when we go use it, it's too much for it to handle, and that's why we get inflammation and pain. So that's just the symptom. The deep underlying cause of the elbow pain is actually degeneration. So once people understand that the deep underlying issue is degeneration, usually the next question to me is, okay, how do we fix that degeneration? How would we address the underlying issue there? So I like to compare it to the analogy of going back to the boat. At first, you're rowing, you're trying hard, you're going, and it doesn't matter how fast you row. If you're rowing in the wrong direction, you won't get there, and that's where the frustration comes from. understanding that it's degeneration points you in the right direction like a compass, but it still won't get you all the way there to where you need to be, and that's what I understand. So next, I want to go over the 3 most important things that you need to understand to finally fix your tennis elbow. So we went over one thing, which is focusing on what actually works, on the root cause, which is the degeneration. And what works to fix degeneration is strengthening. The tendon heals through a process called mechanotransduction, which is a fancy term, but essentially what it means is that exercises and loading that tendon is what promotes and signals to the body for it to start repairing that tendon, to rebuild that collagen, to get it stronger. And that's the secret to fixing tennis elbow, not resting, icing, stretching, getting a cortisone shot, but actually strengthening the tendon, getting it strong enough, rebuilding the capacity and the strength in the elbow is how we fix it long term, versus just managing the symptoms with what I just mentioned: ice, rest, stretching, all those things. So that's step number 1. Once you understand that, once you focus on exercises, you're already one step ahead of everybody else. But a lot of people tell me, hey, I've tried some exercises, some made me better, some may be a little bit worse, but still it didn't get fixed. So I'm doing exercises, I'm doing the right thing, but it's still coming back. So what's happening in that case is step number 2, and that's identifying the root cause. So not all tennis elbow is the same, and this is where a lot of people go wrong. They go to their physical therapist, they say, hey, I have tennis elbow. PT does a quick basic assessment, and they just print them a sheet of basic exercises they could have found online and done at home. Or you go down a YouTube rabbit hole, you find some exercises to try, and let's face it, there's thousands of exercises you could be doing. Potentially some of them could work, but the key is the elbow. Tennis elbow is different. There's 6 different structures in the elbow. Any one of them could be causing your pain, and what worked for one person may not work for you. So this is what we found is the secret, and the way we've been able to help so many people is we take that extra step to dig deeper to find exactly which structure is causing that elbow pain for you. So all the different muscles and tendons in the elbow, there's also nerve going through there. They have different functions. And in traditional physical therapy, it's just basically a basic assessment if you have tennis elbow or not, but it doesn't dig deeper to find exactly the root cause of your tennis elbow. It doesn't isolate all those 6 different areas and figure out which type of elbow pain you have specifically. And that's why I developed an assessment to help isolate all the different parts of the elbow, test them individually one by one, so we can identify based on your pain response which one is exactly causing your pain. And then based on this, we build that plan around that to finally get it fixed. So we select the exercises, approaches, all of that based on the root cause to target the underlying issue, instead of just guessing and throwing exercises at you, throwing spaghetti against the wall, hoping that something sticks. So great, we went over step 1, which is figuring out what to focus on. Number 2 is the root cause. By the way, on my channel you can find a long video, tennis elbow, goes over all the details. Included in that, I have a quick guide showing you how to find the root cause. It's not the full assessment. The full assessment usually takes about 45 minutes, but a nice quick version that you can do on your own and get an idea of what exercises would be best for you specifically in your elbow. So that was step number 2, figuring out your root cause and building that plan around that so you're doing the right exercises, the right approaches to get it fixed. And then number 3, equally as important, is consistency and updating that plan along the way. Now, some people will get great results within the first week or 2. They're the lucky ones. They're not the majority. But I've worked with a lot of people so far, and I'd say about 30% will have a significant reduction in pain in the first 2 weeks. Some of them feel 70% better within the first 2 weeks, but that's not average. That's not typical, and you shouldn't go into the rehab thinking that that's going to happen to you. In a lot of cases that I work with, it can take a month, 2 months, even 3 months to see significant progress with your tennis elbow, because it's a tendon injury. Tendons take a little bit longer to heal and repair, but they can still heal and repair. But compared to muscles, that process happens a lot slower. So this is why it's so important, because you could be focusing on the right things, you could be doing the right exercises, but you just didn't do them long enough to see the results. And this is another thing that's frustrating about tennis elbow, is you could be putting in all this work, and at the end of the day, you don't know if you're doing the right things or not, because initially you might not see that progress. That progress could only show up 4-6 weeks later, sometimes even 2 months later. And what a lot of people are worried about is, okay, I put in all this effort, I've done all these different exercises, but was I doing the right things, or is this going to finally fix it? And this is honestly where it's important to identify that root cause, so you have that confidence in the plan that you're doing, that it's going to finally fix it. And more importantly, what we do with the people that we work with is we don't just follow the same thing over and over again. Every 2 weeks, we update that plan along the way to make sure that they're progressing, not getting stuck. Because if you do the same thing over and over again, even though it's targeting the root cause, you won't really progress. You won't really get back to 100%. Sure, you could get to 40%, 60%, maybe even 80%. But a lot of times, updating that plan and progressing it is the secret and the key to finally get it to 100%, where it's not a problem, where it's not really bothering you or holding you back from the sports that you love. So hopefully that made some sense of tennis elbow and why it's so frustrating. Essentially, the whole tennis elbow pathway that people take to fix their elbow is backwards. It's focused on just short-term managing the pain, focused on quick fixes to just make you feel better in the moment. You get a cortisone shot, feels great for a couple months, and then it comes back actually even worse. You use a brace, you use a sleeve, which are all designed to just help manage the pain in the moment. Maybe you rely on pain medication, anti-inflammatories, just to get through a regular day, but nothing is addressing the underlying root cause, the issue. And that's why so many people feel frustrated with their tennis elbow. And more importantly, they feel frustrated because they're not really getting the help that they need, even though they're seeking it. So they're going to their doctor, physical therapist, but it feels like nobody really understands what they're going through, and more importantly, how to get it fixed. So to get out of that frustrating pattern, that frustrating cycle, you need to focus on what actually works to fix tennis elbow. You need to identify your root cause and build that plan around it. You need to stay consistent, and you need to update that plan along the way as you're progressing to finally get it fixed.